we've chosen Asian Voices because we'll be looking at the first generation of Asian immigrants that came to Huddersfield in particular. It'll be South Asians, so Indians, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, from that origin. And we're just looking at how they came in the 1960s, even 50s, and how they got to where they are today, really. You know, how they worked, where they lived, and how they got about. Worship, leisure, things like that, whether it was available or not. Recording people's memories, feelings, their thoughts and what it was like. So I think it's quite important really to get that aspect from them. It's very personal.
When we came, you know, we took the taxi from the airport, and it was me, my father, and it was very early in the morning. I think it was probably midnight, you know, when we left from there. And because we were traveling at night time, and all you could see was, you know, trees and dark, you know. And I was thinking, you know, that they say England is a very beautiful city, but all you're seeing is, you know, because as a child, you know, I was thinking, all you can see is the trees, and so where are all the houses, you know, because you were coming on motorway and you're going to see the houses. And you know, I had the impression, you know, and you know, where's all the cities and everything, you know.
The first thing I noticed, it was a long journey from London in the train. Obviously the planes only came to London then. It was absolutely cold. And the first thing, next day I noticed was huge tons and tons of snow. And I was literally crying. I didn't say, where the hell I am? What's all this? I was so cold. So, I mean, it took weeks and weeks for me to figure out I'm here.
Initially, when we came, we used to go to the school, which was in it was Outland School. You know, it was part of Saturday Nook School. You know, but they had the immigration class at the Outland. So we were all immigrants. You know, so all the people who came from Pakistan or India, you know, they would send them there. And we had the Asian teachers. You know, we still see him in Berkeley because he lives in Berkeley as well, Mr. Khoshi, and they used to teach us English. And sometimes, you know, we start singing the Asian song and, you know, making jokes of, you know, English and all that, and or the Asian language, you know, we'll tell the, you know, jokes about each other. But I think it was a bit, you know, we didn't feel much because, you know, we left one atmosphere and because of all the Asian immigrants, you know. So, but then when I learned a bit of English and then I went to the college, again there was a lot of Asians as well, but then we had, you know, obviously English as well. So things were improving.
But first I came in this country, I realized the language is very, very important. When I arrived at airport, they were asking me the custom or what's they call immigration officers to see my vaccination. But I couldn't understand them. Finally, they caught from here, from my sleeves, and they said, we want to see your hand. That's also the vaccination. Then I realized. My house was very small, so only that time we were about 4 people, including myself. And some working day and some working night, and we lived. Just luckily some weekend we can sit together, otherwise some people work 7 days because we need money and everybody struggle for money to save.
Where they have they have one house, a 3-bedroom, 7, 8, 9 people live. Only one bathroom, toilet, some small house, no bath. We going to Cambridge Road to go into bath down
Public
there.
bath. We did that one. No bath every day. Nowadays, easy. That time only once a week. Pay for it.
So what sort of baths was it? Was it a swimming pool or was it actually...
No, but like you have a tub at home.
Yeah.
It's different tubs.
Right.
There were like a line of tubs on this side, one line on this side.
About
Then there were
20
women's
to
side.
30 baths there.
There were women's
You
side
queue there.
separate.
You used to queue.
Right.
So when your turn come, they give you one.
You pay something, then they'll give you towel,
Mm.
bit of soap, bit of shampoo. And somebody cleaned the bath. There's cleaners there.
Yeah.
And you go there. There were 2 towels, I think. It was nice. We used to enjoy it. Sometimes I went 2-3 times a week.
Was that like your social thing? Is that what you know?
It was social thing. Also, said come home Friday and from work. We aren't working for 3 days. Oh, let's go to bath.
Nowadays, if you don't have a bath or shower in the house, how ashamed you feel.
Yeah.
That time, everybody was...
Without fail, I have a shower in the morning and a bath at night. I can't go to sleep until I lay down in a tub. That's me.
So different world now.
One thing we did experience through the late 70s and early 80s was racism from due to the rise of the National Front, now the BNP. But in the 70s and 80s, the National Front was very active in Huddersfield as well as in Elland. But one of the disadvantages we had is that our generation was still growing up, so we weren't able to articulate any strong opposition to the National Front and to undermine their ideology. However, do remember being what we describe now as a victim of racism. At that time we didn't realise why they were being racist towards Asian people. We just felt they didn't like us and we didn't understand why they didn't like us. A bit too young to understand that, but just knew that when a load of skinheads ran towards you, you ran in the opposite direction very fast, and it happened on a quite frequent basis. We felt that we didn't realise why they were chasing, but we just felt it was a bit of fun, and we were very good at running, so it didn't make any. They never caught it, so we felt that was all right. Yeah, and they were always smoking and out of breath, so we weren't too bothered. But that's an experience I think that kids don't have nowadays in Huddersfield. They don't experience in Huddersfield. Well, hopefully not any kind of overt, straightforward racism.
When I was young, there was only one mosque, and that was in Upper George Street, and everybody used to go there to pray. And then a mosque was built on Halifax Old Road in mid-80s. But then recently, in the 90s, I think, another one was built, which was on Blacker Road. So now we got 3 mosques in this area now. Now they've got, because the community has expanded, you've got mosques basically in every area. Well, you'd go to the mosque to say the Friday prayer and to read the Eid, etc. Or if the guests came at the weekends, etc. When you had time, you went to pray. But basically, it was sending the kids to learn the Quran. Even when we were young, we used to go. In those days it was difficult because we lived in Lockwood, and in order to learn the Quran, there were some classes after school, which was in Upper George Mosque, and my brother and I, we used to have to catch a bus in the evening. I remember the bus fare was something like 2 pence or something to get from Lockwood to town. And we had trolley buses in those days as well, and that used to be quite a trail because we used to go by ourselves because our dad was at work and he used to come late, and then we used to come back at about 7-8 in the evening by ourselves on the bus as well, which during the winter used to be quite frightening because it used to get dark early, and then we having to come by ourselves on the bus. It wasn't always a nice journey. I was born in Pakistan, so my roots would be in Pakistan. Although when I now go back, it's like a totally alien place to me. I've become out of touch with it. Although it's a nice, enjoyable place for a holiday, but that's it. If I were to go and live there, I don't think I could cope, because I've become so accustomed to the British way of life that although I might regard myself as an Asian, but I'm a British Asian, part of the British way of life.